American Top 40.
We're counting down the most popular songs in the USA, and the hits don't stop till we get to the top. Now, picture this. It's 1966, and in the middle of Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, there's a traffic jam. Nothing unusual about that. But stuck in that traffic jam is a hearse. And out of this common symbol of death, there will be born four of the most important bands in American rock. Here's that story according to a man who was there, guitarist Richie Furay. Furay had been playing in folk clubs around Los Angeles with an old buddy of his named Stephen Stills. But as hard as they worked, they just couldn't get their sound right. Until that fateful tie-up. Richie says Stephen and I were driving down Sunset Boulevard when we got caught in the traffic jam. And as we sat there, we noticed that the car in front of us was a hearse with Ontario license plates. Stephen said he knew a great guitar player named Neil Young who drove an old hearse, and it just had to be him. So we jumped out of the car and rushed to the hearse, and there sat Neil. He had come to L.A. looking for us, and being unable to find us, was about to go off to San Francisco. And that was it. We started a rock and roll band. Well, the band they started was Buffalo Springfield. And after being together for 2 years and creating a new sound, the members of Buffalo Springfield would go off in different directions to found Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Poco, and eventually the Eagles. All those acts and many more can trace their ancestry straight back to that traffic jam on Sunset Boulevard. And as an AT40 extra, here's a rock classic by the Buffalo Springfield from 1967, For What It's Worth.
There's something happening here. What it got children, what's that sound?
From 1967, that's For What It's Worth by the Buffalo Springfield. An extra here on American Top 40 as the countdown continues.
The hits from coast to coast.
We're up to our AT40 Extra, the only top 40 hit by a band that's been called the most influential of all American rock groups. That's what Rolling Stone magazine recently said of the mid-60s band called Buffalo Springfield, a band that was able to stay together for barely 2 years. This is the story of the powerful Buffalo Springfield. Back in 1966, the American rock scene was in a state of confusion. The British invasion had knocked the wind out of the American rockers, and as our musicians searched about for new directions, a lot of performers migrated to Los Angeles looking for something fresh. And here's where a band was formed that would change the shape of American rock. The band included at one time or another guitarists Stephen Stills, Richie Furay, Jim Messina, and Neil Young. They created what Rolling Stone calls an eclectic country rock style that remains current more than a decade later. After only 2 years, Buffalo Springfield broke up, but its members went off either to form or to become key parts of some of the most important rock acts of the 70s, including Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Loggins and Messina, Poco, and Blood, Sweat and Tears. And those bands influenced other acts like the Eagles, Jackson Browne, Crazy Horse, J.D. Souther, and Linda Ronstadt. All this from a band that hit the top 40 only once. 13 years ago, they hit number 7 with this classic. For What It's Worth, here's Buffalo Springfield.
There's something happening here. What's that sound?
An American Top 40 Extra from 1967. For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. And the countdown rolls on.
The hits from coast to coast.